she's from McDonald's. Yeah, I don't want to think about that either. It's more than a drink. It's a McDonald's drink.
Right now at McDonald's, get an icy cold medium frozen Fanta Blue Raspberry or frozen Coke for just $1.59. Order on the app and pick up curbside. Price of participation may vary. Available for limited time.
Spark the savings at JCPenney's 4th of July sale now through Sunday. Get up to 50% off select furniture, mattresses, and window coverings during our home sale. Plus, save on hundreds of doorbusters across the store for the entire family. Save even more on select styles with an extra 25% off coupon. Celebrate every summer moment with JCPenney. Offers and coupon valid through 7/4. Doorbusters valid 7/1 through 7/4. Some exclusions apply. Furniture, mattresses, and window coverings limited to 10% off coupon. See store or jcp.com for details.
This year, celebrate your 4th of July with amazing deals only at your local grocery outlet. How about Pepsi 24 packs for $4.99? Look for our ad on groceryoutlet.com and find a coupon for Pepsi 24 pack assorted varieties for just $4.99. Restrictions apply. See coupon for details. Also, get your snack on with wonderful roasted and salted pistachios. 2-pound bags are just $9.99, a savings of up to 50%. Offers good through July 6th.
Hey friends, I'm Janet Barney and I was the voice of Korra on The Legend of Korra.
And I'm Dante Bosco, the voice of Zuko on The Last Airbender.
And we're your hosts for Braving the Elements, Nickelodeon's podcast celebrating all things Avatarverse.
Whether you're a bender or a non-bender, everybody's welcome, even if you're not from the Fire Nation.
Listen to Avatar Braving the Elements on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Will you go penguin sledding with me?
This report is... Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And the good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. We love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. In the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful July the 1st, 2021. Grande Deportes. Bonjour, Big C. This Vidi Vidi Vici. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, we're fun. We're having a fine day down here. We've been laughing all day. You know, you had the former president come out today talking about his CFO being, indicted over getting free rent and free housing from his condos, Charlton. He said they didn't do that to USC when Reggie Bush got his free house, so why are they doing it to him? But once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders. They'll be there to pull those splinters out of the butt when they fall on those nails, Charlton.
That's funny. Reggie Bush did nothing wrong. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. You go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. Just say Google or Alexa play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic. He'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. If you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing. And I'm sure Reggie Bush is pausing because he realized he should have never given back that Heisman Trophy, but we'll never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help, Big C. More people are doing it from sea to shining sea, Big C, your thoughts.
Charlton, more people are doing it about it. Not enough people are doing it. We're still suffering over 2 dozen suicides a day from our military veterans, Charlton. Just a horrific disease that there seems to be no vaccine or cure on the horizon for, Charlton. But one of the things we can do as a country and as a people is talk to other people, Charlton. And especially those people you see that are troubled emotionally and mentally and physically, Charlton. They need communications. And because they don't always get the communications that they so desperately need, Charlton, it has led to suicide in too many occasions here in America. So we need to take conservative efforts as people to think about that, Charlton, especially our military veterans, who many of these people are troubled, Charlton, with PTSDs after returning back into society. And just the littlest things can set them off, and they don't know which direction to turn, Charlton.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, to many of them, it has led to suicide. So as a country, let's pay attention to our people on the street, our military veterans, just like we do to sporting events. Pay attention to those people who really need help. Very
well said, Big C. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. You can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Also very happy to be affiliated with Valley, home with weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the first place, sometimes San Francisco Giants, and the Say Hey Kid, as well as our home run king, Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him Big C sent you. Our goal is simple. Big C wants some free media passes, but our goal is to create 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country to help put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it. Car dealerships do it, sports teams are doing it, watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like God said in Genesis 1:3. Let there be light. Open your cell phones and say play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the world. And I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. Man, I want to also congratulate every college student athlete. Today you celebrate your Independence Day. Nick Saban, you no longer need paper bags, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, no, Charlton, I mean, you know, Alabama and the SEC has always been above board.
Oh,
they get
yeah.
all these great athletes. Now this is going to allow the Pac-12 to be competitive along with the SEC and the ACC in this country. But, Charlton, what this is really going to mean to the Pac-12 is that the state of Oregon is going to dominate the Pac-12 for the next decade before California and the other states can catch up. You got Uncle Phil Knight. There's no limitations now on paying his athletes for wearing Nike gear and sponsoring them, Charlton.
Yeah, no limitations, but a lot more money flows all over the Golden State. It's all fair and love of war. I do want to say for Big C, it really is a sea change. And I know that you did you say, I missed what you said about Donald Trump. I hear one of his lawyers was indicted for not paying taxes and cheating taxpayers as they were trying. Is that how they decide to make America great again? Don't pay their taxes, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, his CFO, Alan Weissenberg, who was running his company, Charlton, and Donald Trump was providing him with free housing, you know, and they weren't paying taxes on his income like Reggie Bush and his family out there at USC. And, you know, the school went on probation. He said, that's all we need is probation. We don't need to be fined.
Yeah, it's all fair in love and war. I wish them nothing but the best. Let's make this country great again and make America great again. Nobody paid taxes. It's all fair in love and war. And you got 70 million votes, Big C. Every NCAA athlete in the country. Imagine the good old boys that got SMU in trouble, the Pony Express. I think it was Eric Dickerson and Craig James and a lot of other good old boys back in the day down in Dallas, Big C. SMU. They wish they would have woken up and had ground. Would today be a great day for Groundhog Day for the former SMU stars? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it'd be a tremendous day for many, you know, former college athletes. You know, we're going to be asking for, you know, restitution, Charlton, because, you know, you think about reparations that should come in college athletics. It's going to stop right now with the modern athlete, Charlton. Think about how many former players still they're using their name, image, and likeness on television in promotions and commercials and endorsements.
Big C, very well said. I think you were also in line at the bank to get some of your promotional stuff that used to have to hide in paper bags. But you like Donald Trump's friend. You don't want to pay tax on it, so why report it now, Big C? You've been getting it for free all these years, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I asked for mine on a debit card.
It's all fair in love and war. Be careful, they know how to cut off those debit cards. But every NCAA athlete in the country is going to be able to make money from endorsements. Like the coaches and everybody that puts their hands in their pockets, Big C, from endorsements to a variety of other ventures. And starting on today, Big C, the NCAA's board of directors decided on Wednesday, they decided actually to officially suspend the organization's rules prohibiting athletes from selling their rights to their names, images, and likeness. In the new rule, a lot of guys pay attention. The new rule represents a major shift in the association's definition of amateurism, Big C, a shift that the NCAA leaders, the greatest defenders of antitrust violators, they previously believed was antithetical to the nature of stealing money from people in college. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, it's the new rule that's finally come into play that everybody can be above board and have equal opportunity when you look at it. I mean, for so many decades, Charlton, the kids have been ripped off by the NCAA and the institutions that provided a scholarship for them, saying that that's all they need. You know, you could be a college football player, basketball player, just a college athlete. In some states, Charlton, you were not even allowed to hold a part-time job just to get extra necessities that you would need to get through everyday life.
Yeah.
You could lose your eligibility over that.
Yeah, that's crazy. I knew a lot of guys that grew up. I was in college. I loved top ramen and cheese, and sometimes I even put raisins in my top ramen and cheese. It was better than just eating saliva and ice water for dinner. It's all fair in Leavenworth. You're doing the best you can to get by. As you see, the people that recruit these kids to these schools, they live in, what they say, caviar wishes and the caviar dreams and all that garbage. But I want to touch on something. It's so important, and it's just my opinion. You have your own thoughts, and so do I. But for everybody, especially mainstream people, that were saying that you shouldn't have the chance to make money the way they do, I read a post on one of the sports sites, and there was just a middle-class woman talking about kneeling. If they say, oh, if they have any more kneeling in sports, I'm not going to watch anymore. And if you're going to kneel, get the blank out of this country. And I just said some of these military people, they can post back, if you did not serve the military, quit freeloading to this country, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, anybody says that they're not going to watch sports because someone kneeled, that's a damn lie that they're telling, Charlton.
Yeah.
If you don't care about the kneeling, just don't look at them kneeling.
Watch.
But they're not forcing you to interact with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like when everybody wants to say they care about the military in the United States. If they care so much about the military in the United States, Charlton, why do we have such a horrendous suicide rate amongst our veterans?
Yeah.
So stop lying about how you care about military people.
Yeah, and they serve so you could serve, take a knee. It's all fair in Leavenworth War. So college sports, listen up, high school kids, and all the college kids too, and especially the people that say, how dare they make the kind of money we've been stealing for years? The new NIL rule, which is National Image and Likeness rule for college sports, paying college athletes. The top 3 pros, because this is what it's all about, Big C. People think like it's going to corrupt the system if people actually get compensated for what's rightfully theirs. Pro number 1, NCAA colleges and universities, they profit unfairly from the work and likeness of college athletes. Many of these athletes, Big C, they're African American, and they're also from low income for the most part, and people say they have a problem paying them, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's the plight of African Americans in America, Charlton, is people don't want them to have a livable wage regardless of where they are. They say, well, you know, they can go out there and they get this free scholarship. Yeah, but if they get injured, Charlton, then they lose that scholarship. If they don't have a GPA, then they lose that scholarship. And most of the degrees that these kids get, Charlton, are mid-level degrees that are really useless in society.
Yeah, and when you think about it, Big C, as of November 17th, 2020, I really want your thoughts on this. The University of Alabama, known as Paperback University, Big C, head coach, I told you I saw a guy that looked like Nick Saban just the other day in a grocery. You couldn't even get paperback. He brought up all the paperbacks in the store, Big C, and I guess he's going to return them. You know how long it takes to return 1 million paperbacks, Big C?
Well, Charlton, but you got to have the money and to put the gas tank to get them there and have a big enough bid.
Guy wants to return 1 million paperbacks back to California grocery stores. But as of in November 17, 2020, University of Alabama head football coach St. Nick Saban was the highest paid NCAA college football coach, making $9.3 million, Big C, per year. Per year, Big C. 81 other head football coaches made more than $1 million annually, most of them white, Big C. There's only about 13 African-American coaches in Division I. And another 29 more made more than $500,000, Big C. The highest paid men's basketball coach was University of Kentucky head coach John Calipari, who wears those $1,000 shoes and $2,000 suits, who was paid $8.2 million per year. 69 other head coaches and men's basketball coaches, they were paid more than $1 million annually. another 3 more. I think there was more than 500,000 for the others. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the money has always been flowing at the top of college athletics. And when you're paying these copious amounts to these coaches, and these coaches' success is based on the athletes that they recruit.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's going to change the landscape of college basketball or football, Charlton, who have been the elitist schools all around, because they found ways to compensate and keep their kids happy other than just winning championships.
Yep.
But this is going to be even more for them now, Charlton, that they're going to have the ability to woo even greater athletes into the campus.
Oh, my goodness, Big C. Remember how you brought up that the HBCUs, they have as many great football players, if you look at starting players, as any other program, conference in the country, and hardly anybody get drafted in the NFL. So if they didn't have a chance to make money in college, all of them, they have to walk on and hope they could beat out a guy that was drafted, even though the guy that drafted may not be as good. But when you think about college athletes, arguably the stars of the show, who earn millions of dollars year after year for the well-paid NCAA executives, most of them white, Big C, just back in the days of slavery and Jim Crow. Most of the guys that ran the banks, they were white, and the coaches and the staff, they're white too, forbidden by the NCAA from not only being paid for their work, but from seeking other related compensations, such as endorsement deals. You can't get an endorsement deal on your own effort, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that was hidden in the past, Charlton, and athletes couldn't go out and do commercials, car sponsorships, or even get a free sweatsuit, Charlton, off campus from somebody. But now all those days are behind us as former athletes and stuff, and the current athletes now will be able to reap the benefits of their labor.
Yeah, we hope that they can reap the benefits of their labor. But there's another thing, pro number 2, I want to bring up. Again, college athletes and high school players, listen up. College athletes are risking their bodies as well as their future careers and earning potential to play for colleges and universities for free until this happened, while often receiving a subpar education. The most glaring example occurred when the University of North Carolina, and there's many others, but was found by outside parties to have organized fake classes that enabled dozens of athletes, student athletes, Big C, to gain and maintain their eligibility. Of the 3,100 students who took the fake classes over an 18-year period, Big C, 47%, they were athletes, Big C, your thoughts?
And you're going to tell me that coaches like Roy Williams didn't know anything about that, Charlton? Yes, he knew about that. Gene Smith knew about that.
Yeah.
They were right there leading the athletes into those bogus classes.
Yep, they were doing it, Big C, and they were mostly white, and you can't overlook that. I know people want to say, well, why does that got to do with anything? Because they don't treat white kids that way predominantly, Big C. 67% of former Division I athletes, of D1 athletes, we're not talking about D2, D3, NAIA, they had sustained a major injury. This is even going down to junior college. And 50% had chronic injuries, Big C, 2.5% higher than the non-athletes, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, because your body is going through so much turmoil, and people don't realize how tired college athletes are, Charlton. You got to go to class all day. You got to go to practice. You got to go to workouts. You got to go to training table. You got to go to film sessions. So the body doesn't get the amount of rest that it actually needs through a season to recover.
Yeah, it really doesn't, Big C. Also, listen up, college kids. The NCAA requires players to have health insurance, but does not pay for that insurance, and can refuse to pay medical expenses for sports injuries. I didn't know that until I researched it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is how they get over on athletes. You see so many athletes suffer these catastrophic injuries, and their careers are over and left with these huge medical expenses.
Yep, and last I checked, they don't do medical service for free, especially for young, able-bodied people that get a tear a hamstring or an ACL. It's all fair and love and war. Pro number 3, Big C, college athletes are often valued at more, this is so important, often valued at more than $1 million. But they and their families frequently live below the poverty line. Does that make sense? You're worth $1 million for your university, but your family's below the poverty line, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this is where the compensation will come in now, Charlton, because an athlete can negotiate their value, especially when you're worth more than just the average athlete. When you're a superstar in the program, it's going to allow you to escalate your earnings.
Yeah, and so when people say, I can't understand how they're going to do it, it's not fair, what about the people who are not going to focus on an education? They're going to school to play football. I heard some former millionaire football players saying the one problem they have is that they worry that people are going to forget why they went to school as they're going to focus on trying to make money. instead of play football. What a dumb thing to say, but people do it, Big C. A study by the National Bureau of Economic Research. This is not Big C's research. It's the National Bureau of Economic Research found that the top 2 college football positions, the quarterback and the wide receiver, I think the top guy picked, Trevor Lawrence, a quarterback, Big C, net worth about $2.4 million and about $1.3 million per year, respectively, for the receivers, while starting men's basketball players, they're all trying to get to the NBA, in the Power 5, Big C, 5 schools, were worth between $800,000 and $1.2 million per year, most of them led by African-American athletes, pejoratively from below the poverty line. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's going to be very difficult for universities to say now, Charlton, that we can't afford you. Okay? They're going to have to come out. I mean, so they're going to have to put all their casino chips on the table in the Pac-12 and take care of the athletes now.
Well, you keep saying the Pac-12, but there's a lot of guys, Ramoki Huma and the Bannon brothers, that started this push way about over a decade ago, Big C. So I congratulate Pac-12 and Pac-10 players. Now, college players, please listen up. If college players earn about 50% of their team's revenues, Big C, this research is so important because for people that say, oh, it's not fair, they should get an education, now you're paying these guys like you pay the white guys. If college players earned about 50% of their team's revenue, like the NFL and the NBA players that were just watching when Chris Paul did his thing last night, the average football player's yearly salary, listen up, college players, would be about $360,000, and the average basketball player's salary would be about $500,000. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, NCAA, take notes. You're going to be paying up real soon. I mean, we've all known the value of college athletes over the decades, Charlton, what they meant to universities. When you look up in the stadium and you got a packed house around the country, they don't come there to watch the coach, Charlton. They come there to watch the players between the hash marks and the sidelines.
Yeah.
And this is what the game is all about. Compensation finally due to those who deserve it.
To those who deserve it, and it's going to be great for colleges, especially the Pac-12 is going to benefit because now you don't have to follow that yellow brick road of paper bags down south in order to eat top ramen. You can actually have some spaghetti that's not top ramen with sauce on it, but some real top ramen or real spaghetti. Big C. The cons for you good old boys, predominantly Caucasian, saying, why do we got to pay these black guys? We've had it good until you guys come moseying around and putting your nose in somebody's business, Big C. The cons for you knuckleheads. The cons far outweigh the pros. To begin, the disparity gap between a team like West Virginia and a team like Duke in basketball or Alabama in football will become even more wide pronounced, Big C. Why would a player choose to go to West Virginia when it could go to one of the larger schools and instantly be given a far better shot at the exposure, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, that is the concern, Charlton. When you look at the Power 5 conferences, how much will it devastate the lower conferences? And you talked about the ACCs earlier. I mean, the disparity is going to be there regardless, Charlton. This is about deep pocket theory.
Yeah.
Think about that. Free agency in pro sports is about deep pocket theory. How much can you spare on your salary cap? Do you want to pay a luxury tax? College football is going to be the same way. You think because the university is going to have to find ways for athletes to make money now that they're going to stop recruiting?
Oh, no,
Charlton.
No.
There's a thing called boosters and sponsors and all of that.
Yeah.
They'll find ways to get more money out of them to keep the kids coming.
Yeah, they'll keep it coming. Big C, there's a con number 2 for you guys out there that believe in people working for free, and they work to get the money, and you go get their paycheck. It's not fair that people do it. Very few college athletes will go pro. That's so important. So athletes should take advantage of the education being offered in exchange for playing a college sport. But just like a lot of Ivy League schools, Big C, no one tells an Ivy League student that they should not work on making money based on their likeness and their mindset and mental capabilities. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we've always known the statistics of those who will not be able to go pro, Charlton. We know how many are in the draft in the NBA, the NFL, and Major League Baseball. And I think that players now are intelligent enough to understand that the probability of you getting drafted, even when you're a freshman in college, all the way through your final year.
Yeah.
And so those numbers are not going to change. Education will always be prevalent.
Yeah.
Everybody is not going to go pro in a sport.
No.
But you have an opportunity to go pro in life, Charlton. And if you can profit on it also while you're in college, so well be it.
Amen, because that's what they tell you to go to school for, develop your mind to the highest extent, not to go bench press 400 pounds and hopefully don't blow out our knee, Big C. Major money makers. Listen up, college kids. Football and men's basketball have very low odds. Now, this numbers are so important. I know some people don't like numbers, Big C. They just say, "Don't tell me the numbers. Just give me the entertainment, Big C." But of the 73,712 NCAA football players, listen up, players. About 16,380 are draft eligible, and about 254 will be drafted out of the 73,712. That's about 1.2% of the college football players will go pro. Big C, 1.2% is a low odd for anything, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to take a wild guess at Charlton that they don't have many of these athletes take economics classes or percentage classes, Charlton, to understand that their odds of getting there are not there. So they have to be relevant about their education, not like the classes they were putting the students in North Carolina that didn't exist.
Yeah, that did not exist, and it's a shame because oftentimes these are Caucasian institutions that are exploiting black men. They call it culling back in the day, Big C. They would just take the best, the cream of the crop, and use that and give the rest out to the cattle. It's all fair, love, and war. Listen up, athletes. The guys that are running bench pressing and doing double days for free while the university rakes in tens of millions, Big C. Of the 18,816 male basketball players, 4,181 are draft eligible. 47 will be drafted, but only 40 will go pro. That's about 1.2% chance of a college basketball player's, Big C, who will ever play professionally, and the odds are even lower for the women who get their educations for the most part, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we see that night in and night out in the NBA when there's only 12 players on an NBA bench and there's 15 players on a college bench, Charlton. Yeah. And knowing that there's only 2 rounds in the NBA draft, you also have the European players, Charlton, international players that are getting drafted also. So your odds of making it are very limited. So you're going to have to be able to exploit as much money you can on the college level.
You got to, Big C. I want to listen up, baseball players, you athletes all over this great country. Baseball has a great union. Of the 36,011 college baseball players, only 8,000 are eligible to play professionally each year. 1,217 will be draft picks, but only about 791 will be drafted yearly, meaning about 9.9% of the college baseball players will ever go pro, which is the largest likelihood of any NCAA sport, Big C. Your thoughts?
But the majority of those players, Charlton, toil in the minor leagues for the majority part of their career. You can think about it. It could take you a dozen years sometimes to make it to the majors, traveling around on buses in the minors.
Yeah, it's all so important that this rule came down today, and I really appreciate it because we got to talk about it. If we don't talk about it, people are just going to keep taking advantage of the student athletes, and it's not right, but they do it. And I want to touch on something else before we come up on the Big C pause. And I feel bad for you, Big C, because I know you guys down south kind of fall asleep before the West Coast version of the news comes on, Big C. That's why it's good to watch cable instead of just trying to steal somebody's satellite signal. NCAA college football universe, USC former All-American running back, USC running back Reggie Bush, who fortunately or unfortunately Coach Pete Carroll, when he was coach at USC, did not give the ball to on 3rd and 4th down when they needed 2 yards versus Texas when he was averaging 5 yards a carry in the 2005 Rose Bowl. He wants his Heisman Trophy back, and the USC needs their 2004 national championship back after they beat down Oklahoma 55-19. And even Kim Kardashian agrees, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, maybe if he had led the Pac-12 in rushing that year, they'd give it back to him.
Yeah.
But since he finished second in rushing, they're not going to give it back to him.
It's all fair in love and war. It's amazing how he's saying, "I'll be back to get my Heisman Trophy." The great Arnold Schwarzenegger, "I'll be back," the words of Reggie Bush. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When we come back, I'm going to talk some more about what's going on in the sports universe and also college as well as professional. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts, You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight and Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like in Genesis 1:3. God said, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. I want to touch one more thing on college sports, Big C. Let's make a deal with NCAA athletes cashing in on name, image, and likeness. Hannah and Haley Cavinder, Big C, waited for only a few minutes after the clock struck midnight before taking advantage of the new opportunities for college athletes to cash in on their fame. The twin sisters, who played for Fresno State's basketball team and entertained millions of followers on social media, they flew to New York City on Wednesday night to sign their first major endorsement deal. They are now spokeswomen for Boost Mobile, Big C, with plans to promote the wireless telecommunications company in a variety of ways in the coming years. Prior to that, they could only get Top Ramen, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I guess the smartest athletes out there on the West Coast are in Fresno and not in Los Angeles. I mean, these young ladies could not wait to jump over that finish line, Charlton, and start collecting money.
Yeah, Fresno, California, former home of the West Coast Relay is Ratcliffe Stadium. It's all fair and love and war, but think about this for everybody that says, this is not fair for the student athletes. How are they going to focus on sports when they're going to be out there trying to make $1 million instead, Big C? The average person in their lifetime does not make more than $1.5 million, even with a blue-collar job or a white-collar job, Big C. You got people that can do that in a year's time with their intelligence. It's all fair, love, and war. So the NCAA rules changes and the state laws that went into effect July 1st today open the doors for college athletes to sell their rights to their names, images, and likeness for the first time. Boost CEO Steven Stockus, Big C, said that the company has a list of 400 college athletes it hopes to partner with in the future. This is money that normally would have gone to mainstream Caucasian men and women, and now you have a lot more people, no matter what color they are, but predominantly African American, that can pull themselves up by their intellect, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, when you think about how people are on their social media pages every day on their cell phones, it's an appendage to their body. And so this is a perfect market when you think about all of them with the websites and their chat rooms to get them involved.
Yeah.
But isn't it iconic, Charlton, that white women are the first ones to capitalize on this opportunity?
Isn't that something? And nobody has a problem with that. They're not saying, but what about how they're going to practice if they're out trying to make $1 million? America's all about free enterprise and capitalism. But if you're stealing money from people and they don't know about it, then sometimes you want to scream and shout when they say stop it. It's all fair and love and war. Florida State quarterback Mackenzie Milton, Big C, and Miami quarterback De'Aaron King signed on as co-founders of Dreamfield Corporation, Big C, a company, a business that's built to help student athletes pursue speaking events and public appearances and other new opportunities. Milton and King will help promote the tech-based platform. They also plan to be among the first college athletes to create a non-fungible tokens to sell to their fans in the near future, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this is what quarterbacks do, Charlton. They take the leadership role. De'Aaron King and Mackenzie Milton down there in Florida. I mean, and you think about how much of a hodgepodge that is in Florida.
Yep.
And that's one of those states that don't have state tax, Charlton, so
Yep.
all of what they make, they get to keep.
Yeah, except for Donald Trump's, his friends, they thought they were in Florida. They were in New York not paying taxes. It's all fair level work, Big C. Iowa basketball player, home of the biggest, I guess they say the greatest corn in the country, perhaps, arguably. Iowa basketball player Jordan Bohannon, Big C, plans to celebrate his newfound independence with a paid appearance at an Iowa City fireworks shop this weekend. Bohannon, who was a leader of the Not NCAA property group that pushed for more players' rights during this year's March Madness tournament, Big C, when all the schools are making millions, Big C, and he plans to partner with a local cryotherapy company, monetize his podcast, and start selling personal merchandising through online storefronts, a lot like the NBA teams. Almost everyone's uniform has an advertisement sponsor that they make money just by wearing. Now these student athletes don't have to wait until they get pro if they're lucky 1% that make it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, just not only that, Charlton. Think about how many athletes now will be able to put a logo on their uniform, football, basketball, baseball, of a local sponsorship that they have to get that endorsement money. And especially if you have a primetime football game or a basketball game that's being broadcast, look at the millions that you're going to reach for your sponsor and how much more money you can make.
Yeah, it's so important, Big C. Nebraska volleyball player Alexi's son is selling branded sweatshirts through the volleyball apparel company Ren. She's one of many athletes launching their own apparel this week. The list includes Kentucky basketball player Deontay Allen, Texas football player DeMarvion Overshown, Big C, and Josh Thompson, and Miami's Derek King. You know, there's a lot of kids out here in California, let me respect Arnold Schwarzenegger, the former governor of California, and they sell lemonade when they're having yard sales, and no one's going to tell them, wait a minute, you can't sell lemonade. Who are you to make money on your own efforts? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, I mean, when you look at the California athletes and you guys are in a drought, I guess they're going to be selling dust bowls out there.
No, ice cream. Iceberg straight ahead. Landing California iceberg straight ahead. At least the desalination. And maybe someone can focus on desalination plants to create water, drinking water out of Pacific Ocean. God gave us a clue. There's water all over this planet, 2/3 of it's water, and we haven't learned to use desalination plants. I mean, that's a clue, guys. It's all fair and level war. 5 members of the Jackson State football team, Aubrey Miller, C.J. Holmes, Tony Gray, Big C, Antoine Owens, and Warren Newman III signed a deal with 3 Kings Grooming Products. Owens was in New York City. Think about this, in New York City to officially sign his contract at midnight Thursday, Big C. Auburn quarterback Bo Nix, his father was always at his games, announced an endorsement with Milo Sweet Tea shortly after midnight on his Instagram account. Nix is also sponsored by Ledco Lightning, Big C. Former Notre Dame walk-on college football player Mick Assaf says his company York has endorsed hundreds of college athletes since midnight Thursday. The York app applies athletes. It allows them to make money playing video games that a lot of them do for free. Marshall offensive lineman Will Armour no longer have to use the alias Lucky Bill, Big C, to pass up money when he plays live country music in venues near the Thundering Herds campus. They're just putting their brains to work the same way the men who were taking advantage of them over the years, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'm so proud of these student athletes, Charlton, because they didn't wait to the last minute to form a plan. They've been working on this ever since this has gone into lawsuits and knowing that this would come across, and once it got to the Supreme Court, they were ready to put their plans into action. And so soon as the clock struck midnight, Charlton, they went to work.
They went to work, and I wish them all nothing but the best. Keep going to work. It's all fair and level war. College baseball, when we're talking about colleges, Big C, Will Bednar and Landon Sims combined on think about this, a one-hitter Mississippi State Bulldogs scored early and often and built his lead, and the Bulldogs won their first national championship with a 9-0 victory over Vanderbilt in the deciding third game of the College World Series that happened Wednesday night. Now, Bednar worked in 3 days rest. He walked 3 of the first 5 batters he faced before retiring 15 in a row. He turned the game over to the Bulldog star closer to start the 7th. Vanderbilt broke up the no-hitter when Carter Young singled into center field with 1 out in the 8th. It was the first one-hitter at the College World Series since 2014. It seemed as though the whole city of Starkville, Mississippi was a TD Ameritrade park to witness the whole shebang. Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, they brought everybody from Starkville down to Omaha. I mean, it was a fantastic event for the SEC Conference, Charlton, to have 2 of its finest teams competing for the College Baseball World Series Championship. And Mississippi State won its first team championship, Charlton, of any kind in NCAA history. So you think about the state of Mississippi over the past couple of months, Charlton. They won the University of Mississippi won their first female championship of any kind in college sports, Charlton. Just a couple of months ago with their golf team, and now Mississippi State with their men's baseball team has won their first ever men's title in team sports.
Yeah, they're trying to catch up with the Pac-12. Big C. Stafford won the women's national championship basketball Division I, and USC won the beach volleyball championship. It's all fair level war. But going back to that game, when third baseman Cameron James threw up to the first and the final out, the Bulldogs dugout emptied out. About 100 fans jumped out of the stands to celebrate as Josh Hatcher waved the national championship flag around the infield, and the players walked the warning track, reaching up, giving high fives to the fans. Great thing for that university. Hopefully they can get some of their fans to wash their mouths out with soap and learn to be more inviting to people of different skin shades. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, this game was all about the young men that were on the field. Unfortunately, they got some stupid butts up in the stands, periodically to spewing racial vitriol. But when you look at the players on the field, I mean, it should never be taken away from them what they do.
Yeah, they did a good job. Congratulations to the Bulldogs. It takes a lot of hard work. Now you guys can get paid the day after you won the national championship. It's all fair in Love and War. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we saw a star or a sun rising last night in the Los Angeles basin. 20 million people saw the sun. The sun set early in California, but it was still shining bright when Chris Paul was doing his thing at Staples Center. I was wrong about the Clippers going to Game 7. I think they just ran out of gas or they ran into the sunshine. It's all fair in Love and War. With the building that he called home, Big C, for 6 seasons of his 16-year storied career, going berserk after a 10-0 run by the LA Clippers, the Phoenix Suns point guard, the great King Chris Paul, went on an 8-0 run on his own to simultaneously silence the crowd and began to cast off the playoff demons that have haunted his postseason in the past, Big C. I think he ended up scoring like 27 of the team's 38 points in the second half. I might be wrong about that, Big C. The great Chris Paul, he's 36 years old in 55 days, is now the oldest player to score 40-plus points. He hit 41 on 16 of 24 field goals, 8 assists. Big C, he had 0 turnovers. When you think about it, the point guard in a closeout game, the previous oldest was Michael Jordan, 35 years, 117 days. That was in 1998. Chris Paul, Queen Kiss Paul, call him the King. When you think about what he did, the third quarter spurt, he poured in 19 more of his playoff career high 41 points. As the visiting Suns won a 130-103 game, it was a Game 6 at Staples Center in Los Angeles, his old home, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the real Paul showed up last night in his house. That's what he did last night. I mean, he put all the naysayers to sleep last night, Charlton. As I told you, the Phoenix Suns had too much youthful enthusiasm for the Los Angeles Clippers to keep up with. I told you they needed to go inside the Andre Ayton. That Boogie Cousins had nothing. Boogie Cousins shot his wad in the last game, Charlton, in his first 12 minutes. He had nothing left, so last night he had to go to the bully tactic, which got him a technical foul and should have got him kicked out of the game when he elbowed Chris Paul in the head, trying to take the ball out of bounds. But, this was a game about effort, and that's what the Phoenix Suns did last night. You saw the frustration. They broke the will of the Los Angeles Clippers. Patrick Beverly lost it all when he just attacked Chris Paul and shoved him to the floor after the game was in hand, Charlton. So not only did you beat this team physically, Charlton, you dominated them mentally.
Yeah, and Patrick Beverly is too good a player for that. I thought that was Bush League play. He did apologize later. I think he got the most emotions got the better of him, but he's one of the biggest trash talkers in the universe. If you're going to give it out, you got to take it. And for DeMarcus Cousins, the elbow to the neck of Chris Paul, I don't really think it was a flagrant foul, but the intent, I believe the intent, DeMarcus Cousins did try to hit him, and Paul kind of leaned over. He did flop. He did a good acting job. But that's the one bad thing about DeMarcus Cousins, is that he takes that street mentality into a millionaire's business, and all it's going to do is cost him. He's a good player, but his attitude needs a checkup from the neck up. And he didn't have a championship to show for it yet, but he's too good a player. That's just my opinion. Leave the Bush League stuff at home, because that's not how you get made more money. It's my opinion. But led by young stars, the great Devin Booker, that Chris Paul says is a new star rising, 22 points. DeAndre Ayton, 16 points, 17 Wilt Chamberlain-like rebounds. Phoenix pushed ahead by as many as 8 points in the first quarter, shooting 14 of 22 from the field, 64%. Jake Crowder poured in 13 of his 19 points in the period. In the second quarter, to get there, the NBA championship round, this time they took out the defending champion Los Angeles Lakers. And in the same court, Big C, in the first round in 6 games, of course, the Lakers had injuries. Everybody has injuries. And then they swept MVP Nikola Jokic for the Denver Nuggets in the second round. And then into the Clippers season on their home court. The Phoenix Suns won all 4 quarters in last night's game and outscored the Clippers of Los Angeles by 13 points overall in the 6-game series. And prior to last night's loss, the Clippers had outscored them, as Tyronn Lue pointed out, but last night it's like they ran out of gas on Highway 405. Big C, your thoughts?
No, they got drove down the cliff, Charlton. That's what happened. They didn't run out of gas. They got drove down the cliff. That's what the Phoenix Suns did to them. They turned up the heat, Charlton, and they couldn't stand the heat, so they had to get their butts out of the kitchen because they got cooked. I mean, when you think about the total effort that was put in by the Phoenix Suns last night, I mean, you have to sit there and respect that. I don't care whether you're a fan of Phoenix or not a fan of Phoenix, if you're kissing an LA Clipper pom-pom.
Yeah.
But the Phoenix Suns took it to them from start to finish, Charlton. They dominated all 4 quarters in that game, and they let it be known that we're just as comfortable playing in Los Angeles. Matter of fact, we have a better winning record in the Staples Center than the Lakers and the Clippers. That's what the Phoenix Suns were saying last night.
Yeah.
And they walked out there, as Monty Williams told them, have confidence in what you're doing. This team cannot play with you. They spent it all in the previous game, Charlton. The Clippers gave all they had in Game 5 of the series just to get down 3-2. And like I told you before, that point differential really doesn't matter. In the end, it's about wins and losses. And now the Suns had 4 in this series, and I think the Clippers was left with only 2.
Is this the man who wrecked the buffet at the Staples Center? The great Chris Paul wrecked the buffet at the Staples Center. The great Eddie Murphy. It's all fair and level war. Congratulations to the great King Chris Paul. And now you get to have your light shine brighter in the NBA championship. It's all fair and level war. You know, they got to go up against the Atlanta Hawks or the Milwaukee Bucks, Big C. They're doing their thing tonight in Milwaukee. And I know Giannis is not playing. I mean, even the Atlanta has their own issues. But it seems like no matter who goes up against this team in Phoenix, Phoenix is going to be rested, Big C, just like they were rested for this series. And they have, like, everything's lined for that sun to shine bright in Phoenix, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's what you want to do if you want to get some rest, Charlton. You eliminate the weaker opponent. And they did that 3 times against the Los Angeles Lakers, against the Denver Nuggets, and now against the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yep.
They went out there with that youthful enthusiasm and put too much pressure on those older legs, Charlton, in all 3 of those series, and they just could not keep up.
Yep.
When you think about the athleticism that they possess in the center with Andre Ayton, I mean, he's been a dominant force. You look at him, he's shooting over 70% from the floor in the playoffs. We haven't seen that number in the history of the NBA in the playoffs. The closest to come to him is James Worthy, shooting 62% from the floor when he was with the Lakers. So as long as they keep going through Andre Ayton with the pick and roll, Charlton, he's a dominant force in the middle. He's going to make people redirect their shots, Charlton. You look at the scrappy defensive guards that they have getting all over, and Carroll has been a central part of this offense.
Yeah, he really has. Congratulations to the Phoenix Suns, and they are in the NBA Finals for the 3rd time in their history. Big C, give me your thoughts tonight. Atlanta up in Milwaukee. I know a lot of people love the Big C burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. Last I heard, they may be adding either some hawk or some venison to that Big C burger. Who has the best chance of staying off the grill tonight, Big C? Your thoughts?
You know, Charlton, this game is a total toss-up. I know they have the Milwaukee Bucks favorite at home, but I don't know if Budenholzer really understands what he has as a team, Charlton, because he has failed to coach this team properly. He has his big men playing out on the arc, Charlton. You got your 7-footers shooting out there at 3-point range.
Wow.
Who does Atlanta have to play against Lopez? Even though Giannis is out of the game, Charlton, you put Lopez down on the block. That's where he grew up. In high school and in college at Stanford, playing down on the blocks. And now you got him playing on the wing out there at the 3, Charlton. You can't do that. Middleton has to wake up. Drew Holiday has to have a night again, Charlton. We don't know what the status of Trae Young is going to be in this game, but Lou Williams can really shoot it. Gallinari, he's there. Kevin Huerter can launch it, Charlton. They have to tighten up on defense. Otherwise, the Hawks are going to take another one in Milwaukee.
Yeah, they got to listen to Jennifer Lopez. He's saying, I'm just Jenny from the block. And they got to stay on the block, the great Jay Lopez. It's all fair and level war. I want to go to where they have some ice. Again, I'm going to do a PSA for California for all of you NHL arenas that are no longer rolling around on your ice. Please send all of your ice to California so we can end this drought, because the Suns came and made California even more dry last night. That's not right. Bring the sun that close to the valley and the of L.A. Big C Suns.
Well, Charlton, I mean, you know, they can use the tears that they have down there at the Staples Center, Charlton. I'm going to assume that they had a couple inches of tears down on the floor last night that they could have mopped up and went and wrung out in the lake pit.
I even saw the great Billy Crystal. He was there at the game, and Chris Paul paid homage to him. It's all fair and level war. But I know a lot of people like Lightning, Big C, the NHL playoff hockey universe. The Tampa Bay Lightning defended their home ice over the first 2 games of the Stanley Cup final. Will now head to Montreal, Canada. What a great city and a great country, Big C, for Game 3 on Friday. The Tampa Bay Lightning, Big C, they took Game 2 of the Stanley Cup final, defeating the Montreal Canadiens. It was 3-1. It was not even that close. The defending champions are now up 2-0 over the underdogs from the North. And the game was tied 1 apiece when the Tampa Bay Lightning Big C scored the go-ahead goal with just 3 seconds to go in the second period. From there, it was all Lightning as if they extended their lead in the top to go up 3-1. Actually, 3-1 was the score, and it would stay that way until they cut. Do you cut off Lightning, or does it just have its own spark? Make your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, that's why it's very important to play until the whistle blows. They scored that go-ahead goal with 3 seconds to go in the quarter, and that was enough for the victory for the Lightning last night, Charlton. Now they have a commanding 2-0 lead going back to Montreal, and I wish Mr. Trudeau would open up the country. I miss that city so much.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest food, Charlton, and artwork and fashion that you're ever going to find. It's like being in Europe in the Western continent.
Yeah.
But Montreal right now is in a desperation mode, Charlton, going back home. You know, and they're not going to be able to have a home crowd advantage because they're only allowing 3,500 fans into the arena. You know, they petitioned the province of the Quebec, the health ministry, to open it up to full capacity, even half capacity, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because that's a building that seats about 22,000 people.
Yeah, it's all very level war. But, you know, no matter what, they have a lot of people that get together on the outside of the arena, and they're going to celebrate no matter what. If the Montreal Canadiens will not make it back to the United States, no matter what happens, they're going to do the best they can to at least entertain the crowd, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the world of the NHL hockey chase. Big C, I want to also touch on, I want to make sure we don't forget to pay homage to our women's WNBA the basketball universe. The Connecticut Sun are at the Indiana Fever tonight. May those women do the very best they can. They're up against a lot of big odds with all these great sports going on all over this country. Big C, Major League Baseball, the pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. A lot of people hit the home runs. The girls love the home run, and the men love to hit the deep. It's all fair in love and war. Nationals, the Washington Nationals, Trey Turner becomes the first player to hit for the cycle on birthday in modern era, Big C. Trey Turner thought, think about this, 3 bags the moment he made contact. He did everyone else in the ballpark. Turner completed his record-tying 3rd career cycle by hitting a 6-inning triple for the Washington Nationals on Wednesday, accomplishing the feat on his 28th birthday before leaving the game with a finger injury in a 15-6 victory over the Tampa Bay Rays. What an exhibition, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you think about one of the most difficult feats to accomplish in Major League Baseball, and that is hitting for the cycle. That's covering all the bases backed up by that home run, Charlton. And Trey Turner had an outstanding day, and you think about that's the 3rd time in his career that he's been able to accomplish that feat. And also to be able to do it on your birthday, what a special, momentous moment.
Yeah, what a special, momentous moment, Big C. That's what I love about this game of baseball. You can even do it on your birthday no matter what day it is. When you go out to the mound and you got to pitch against somebody who can have that much success on his birthday, it's kind of those once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. Big C, your thoughts?
You know, it's like the cake is secondary, Charlton, after having an outing like that.
Yeah, the cake is secondary after having an outing like that. We know coming up over the weekend with Major League Baseball, just for the fans in the San Francisco Bay Area, I guess they're doing some work with BART, and they're going to tell people for the Coliseum station, I guess you got to find alternative routes to get to the stadium, because BART's going to have some shutdowns for the 4th of July celebration, and it's going to make a lot of people, if you know the Bay Area, it's hard to get around if you don't have BART, Big C, because all the highways will be crowded, so people pay attention to their local traffic map when that comes to that. I want to look at tonight's schedule for a beautiful July the 1st, 2021. The Brewers are at the Pittsburgh Pirates. The defending world champion Los Angeles Dodgers at their former champion Washington Nationals. They're playing that game in the backdrop of Washington, D.C. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, a beautiful setting in the nation's capital, Charlton, and Washington has been hot lately. They got some players that are in the MVP chase, and we saw what happened with the game last night.
Yeah, they've done a good job. I love that stadium back in D.C., Big C. The Padres at the Cincinnati Reds. I know you said that Tatis Jr. could not make that big red wrecking crew back in the 1970s, 75, Big C, but he is a great player, and I'm sure they're seeing some flashbacks to what they had back in the days. The Astros at the Cleveland Indians. New York Mets at the Atlanta Braves down in the South Big C. The Cardinals of St. Louis at the Colorado Rockies. And the San Francisco Giants down in the desert taking on the Diamondbacks down in Arizona. And they just got to make sure they don't get bitten snake bitten, if that makes sense to you, Big C. You thought.
Well, no, they got to make sure they stay off the chat lines, Charlton.
Yeah. What is it? All these baseball players on these chat lines, and people have their own reasons for what they do in the chat lines. I just wish everybody nothing but the best as this beautiful weekend is going to come up for the 4th of July weekend. I want to touch on another story that it's NFL. NFL is always fantastic, and it's sponsored by Budweiser Zero, 100% on your game and 0% alcohol. It's all fair and level. It goes great with the Big C Burger. It is a tasty burger. It comes with exotic meats, and it tastes better in your mouth than it does in your hands. Big C, in our 2-minute warning, NFL football. I know you love NFL like you love that moonshine. The 7 NFL quarterbacks under the most pressure to win in the 2021 season. Their teams have gone all in for them in the 2021 season. If they cannot produce, it should be Super Bowl or bust. Only one team's going to win the Super Bowl. But if they are a bust, it's time to move on. Number 1, Matthew Stafford, Los Angeles Rams. The Rams gave up 2 first-round draft picks, Big C, and the starting quarterback for someone who's not made the playoffs, and they had a guy that took them to the Super Bowl, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm not sold on Matthew Stafford. I mean, to come out there, the glamour and glitz of Los Angeles from the cold of the Motor City of Detroit, Charlton, he has never proven that he is a winner in the NFL. Yes, he has the most come from behind passing yards in NFL history, but it speaks for itself. He's always coming from behind.
Always coming from behind, Big C. It's all fair and level war. Number 2, Big Ben Roethlisberger, Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have an entirely rebuilt offensive line, a new running back, and a quarterback that's getting older and lacks mobility, and Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think he's gotten old. He's not getting older. I don't think he can get much older in the NFL. Ben Roethlisberger got rid of the ball quicker than any quarterback in the NFL last year, Charlton, but he was throwing a lot of underneath routes. It means that his arm strength is not there, and he doesn't trust it. And I don't know if he can trust his offensive line this year. Look for him to have a dismal season and be replaced midway.
Man, they were 11-0 at one time last year, but it's a different world. The great Cosby Show, former different world. It's all fair and level war, Big C. Number 3, Daniel Jones, New York Giants. The Giants have upgraded their receiving core along with the return of Saquon Barkley, Big C, out of Penn State, and they revamped their offensive line. It's weird to look at a new home for Daniel Jones, but he's no Eli Manning, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Dave Gettleman has gone all in getting Daniel Jones all the weapons he needs, so he has no excuse, Charlton. And in the paltry NFC East, Charlton, I don't know why they can't be right there at the top of the slot.
Yeah, the Big Apple, Big C. The Big Apple's why they're focused on eating apples. They should be eating Big C burgers. It's all fair and level war. Number 4, Carson Wentz, Indianapolis coach out of North Dakota State. Big C, Philadelphia Eagles. Everything had gone wrong for him this time, the league MVP candidate. He can recapture some of his sophomore mojo if he can play with that horseshoe on the side of his helmet, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, everybody gets, lucky in horseshoes and hand grenades. Now he has a horseshoe. He has no excuse, Charlton. I mean, if Carson Wentz can capture that sophomore mojo that he had, the coach can win that division.
It's all fair and level war. The great Matt Ryan, Big C. Atlanta Falcons out of Boston College. Everyone in Atlanta has been dreaming about their 2016 Super Bowl appearance. They were up by 25 points, Big C. Those days are long gone. Will Matt Ryan be the next one that Arthur Blank says, hey, you want to go play golf because I don't need your quarterback in my team anymore, Big C? Your thoughts?
I think this is do it or bust for Matt Ryan. I mean, he's got a new coach. He's got a new system. Julio Jones is no longer there for him to count on. The excuses are all on him now, Charles.
Yes, all on him. Do they ever have? Are there any chicken wings left for Matt Ryan? He's from the Northwest. Does he actually prefer what they call crab cakes instead? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, coming out of Boston, Charlton, most likely clam chowder.
Yeah, it's all fair and level war. Deep fried down in the South. It's all fair and level war. Number 6, you like that? You like that? The great Kirk Cousins out of Michigan State, the Spartans, Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins has been able to win 2 big contracts from the Vikings that oftentimes sign their contracts in the fog, Big C, but he's not been able to win on the field. I know they really want him to win. He seems like a nice guy, but nice guys don't always earn the $84 million guaranteed, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, he's earned the money off the field, Charlton. He hasn't earned it on the field. And I think with the dismal year that he had last year, he has no choice but to bounce back, Charlton. The Green Bay Packers are in turmoil. The Chicago Bears are rebuilding. this is a year that he has no excuse.
No excuses. There's no excuses, Big C. Number 7, Sam Darnold. He's so happy that USC will get rewarded with getting their 2 national championships back-to-back from the 2003 and 2004 season. And also his friend Reggie Bush will get his Heisman Trophy back. Like the great Arnold Schwarzenegger said, I'll get it back. It's all fair and level war. Sam Darnold with the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers believe that Sam Darnold is better than touchdown Teddy Bridgewater, but can he produce on the field like he did in the New York City nightclubs when he got mononucleosis? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, if he's sitting there trying to go back to the future and hoping that USC can reclaim something that they don't have any longer, just like he can reclaim something that he doesn't have any longer, the ability to play in the NFL, Charlton, then they're both in for a rough awakening.
Well, he also doesn't have the mononucleosis. I hear they have some type of medication that can clear that up. The great Hall & Oates warned him, be careful, she's a man-eater. You got to be careful. Everything that looks good ain't good for you. It's all fair and level war. NBA, NFL news before we close out today on this beautiful first day of July 2021. I hope that everybody's having a great time doing whatever you can to enjoy life this summer. As part owner of the Phoenix Suns, Big C, the great Larry Fitzgerald now has a chance to be part of an NBA championship. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's very rare that a player in a sport gets an opportunity to win a championship in a sport that he doesn't play in. Larry Fitzgerald could be one of the first to do that, Charlton. Being an active player in the NFL, and winning an NBA championship as a co-owner. Yeah,
he can take his breath away by doing the best he can to win. I really congratulate the Phoenix Suns for getting back to the NBA Finals for the first time in 2 decades, Big C. And I know they'll get their feet rested up, and they'll get a chance to shine either against the Atlanta Hawks or the Milwaukee Bucks. If the Hawks right now, you got to realize when a Buck is limping, you got to take advantage of that Buck as soon as possible. Try to you want to mount that Buck on the wall. Big C, is rumor has it, I don't know if it's true, is there rumor has it that they're going to start serving more venison in the Atlanta restaurants? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you're a hawk and you're diving down from the top, you always got to be leery of the horn. Because if you get caught on one of those horns, Charlton, you're going to become a skewer. And all he's got to do is lower his head over fire, and you're roasted.
Yeah, be careful when you try to get a Buck. It's better to catch him from behind. It's all fair and level war. I wish everybody nothing but the best on this beautiful July the 1st, 2021. A lot of people taking Friday off for the weekend, but Big C Sports will be rising and shining on Friday's all fair and level war. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young man, rumble, with all you've got to use. How can you lose, Big C? What are you looking forward to in this sports universe?
Well, Charlton, as we look at things, and when 50 years come around, they call it the 50th anniversary. This season was the 50th anniversary of the Los Angeles Clippers, Charlton.
Wow.
But they forgot to polish the silver, and it's been a little tarnished. And so once again, Charlton, they're going to have to put it on the back burner and watch somebody else polish the new trophy once again. Once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders. I know you guys work with a lot of stainless steel. Maybe you can show the Clippers how to polish that silver.
You know, in California, Big C, they use plastic. It's all fair level war. They use plastic for everything. You can use plastic too every Monday through Friday when you rise and shine at 5 to 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south. As my mama always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.